Is the screen visible to you?
No, ma'am.
No?
Now, yeah, ma'am. Now it's
It's
visible,
okay.
ma'am.
Right. Fine. See, in last class we discussed about compiler, a brief and precise description about a compiler. A compiler is a language translator which converts your source program in terms of target program. A computer program which translates one language to another language, we also refer it as a compiler. A compiler is a complex program which can able to run more than 1,000 programs at an instance. For example, so if we have a program with 1,000 lines of code which is interconnected with some other program which it has some 1,000 lines of code, all those lines will be executed in an instance. So a compiler is a type of a complex program which makes us to execute all those stuff in one particular instance. So compilers are used in many forms of computing, just like we have different type of interpreters, interface programs, and different types of compilers available. See, all those things are a part of a simple compiler. A compiler is a the foremost thing is a compiler is a language translator which converts your source program into target program. Here, your source program is your programming language. Either it may be your C, C++, Java, Pascal, what are the programming language? Each and every programming language will have a compiler. It compiles the program and it will generate the target code or a target program. We can call it as a machine understandable code. See, without this machine understandable code, we can't get the output. So, brief history of a compiler. The first compiler was developed in the year of 1954 to 57. So, the Fortran language was first compiler-oriented language, and it's compiler by team of IBM led by John Backus. Right, the first compiler was introduced in the year of 1954 to 57, and the first compiler-oriented language is Fortran. So the structure of normal language was studied about the same time, but Norman Chomsky form. The first natural language structure was Norman Chomsky, as we all know that, right? So that Norman Chomsky is also a first study with this compiler. So we have different type of theories and algorithms for a compiler. See, first one, the classification of language. What type of language it is? So we have different type of languages we have. See, among that, the first classification language is Chomsky hierarchy, and then we will perform different type of parsings. See, parsing algorithm, which is nothing but we convert the source code into a type of a structure, right? A type of a structure, that is the structure is understandable by the algorithm or the code what we wrote. So for example, the parsing problem was pursued with this context language, and different type of parsing algorithms are available. So later we'll discuss that. The symbolic methods of expressing the structure of the word of a programming language is first introduced through this finite automata and regular expressions, right? So finite automata is nothing but what is your current state, what is your next state, what's your processing state, all those things will be referred by the finite automata, and what will be the outcome of your finite automata will be a regular expression. So we have different methods are developed for generating this type of code optimization techniques and all. See, all those things that we are going to learn it on the history of a compiler. So we have different programs were developed to automate the compiler development of parsing. So we have parser generator and we have scanner generator. So these two are very, very important modules in our compiler. So this parser generator will be done at your syntax analyzer phase, and the scanner generator will be available at your lexical analyzer phase. So the algorithm or the parser generator, we call it as YAC tool. Yet another compiler. Compiler is a tool. This was introduced by Steven Johnson in 1975 for Unix system. And scanner generator is also a part of your lexical analyzer. So we call this tool as Lex tool by Mike Lesk. This is also implemented in Linux system. So we have different projects focused on this type of automating the generation of compiler. So first, code generation is the last phase of a compiler where we can able to generate the optimized machine understandable code. So Lex success due to our less than perfect understanding of them, but this phase is very, very important phase. Right. So we go for we already know about compiler. So compiler is a type of a translator which converts source language to the target language. So in meanwhile, we have a mediator called interpreter. So it executes the source program immediately rather than generating object code. See, this object code is generated by the compiler. Object code is generated by the compiler, but in meanwhile we have an interpreter which executes the line by line of your program, right? See, uh, overall program is run by compiler. So line by line program is run by interpreter. So it executes the source program immediately rather than generating the object code. So object code is generated by the compiler. So line by line instant results will be generated by the interpreter. So for example, basic Lisp used often educational or development institution uses this type of interpreters, right? So line by line execution. And so speed of execution is slower than compiled code by a factor of 10 or more. So that is, interpreter consumes more time while compiler consumes less time. See, for an instance, if a program is executed in 5 seconds when we compiled it, but it takes more than 10 seconds to interpret your program. So we have different type of operations that we can able to perform with the compiler. And next one is assembler. So it is also a translator for the assembly language of a particular computer. Assembly language is a symbolic form of one machine language. So this machine language is also a type of a target code. It's also called as a target code. A compiler may generate assembly language as target language, and can assembler finish the translation into object code. See, all these things appears in your phases of compiler. So obviously we have linkers, so which helps us to link your file with your executable files, right? So it collects separate object files into directly executable files. So connect an object program to the code for standard library functions and to a resource supplied for your operating system, right? So your object program varies from operating system to operating system, right? So whenever we work with a program called C, C++, Basic, Photon and all, so there will be different object programs for different environments or different operating systems. But for some programming languages, object code will be same for different operating systems, right? So that we call it as compatibility object program. For that, object-oriented programming language called Java is a type of a program where it treats all operating system as equal. Okay, right. So becoming one of the principal activity of compiler depends on the operating system and the processor. Loaders. See, whenever linker links the file directly to your executable file. So here loader resolves all relocatable addresses related to the given base. So make executable code more flexible with your loader. Often a part of operating environment, rarely as an actual separate program like loader. So loader is also a type of a separate program where we can able to load the executable files to a part of your operating system. See, linker, loader are two essential parts for programming language or for compiler too. And we have preprocessors. So already existing activities will be inscribable with the compiler. So we have different type of delete comments, include other files, and perform macro substitutions. See, all those things comes under your preprocess. For example, so if we keep like this, it's a comment, right? So this is also a type of a comment, where this one is pre-existing. It is a type of a preprocessor. So the thing is, if you write the text, it should not consider as a part of your program. Right. So hash define int a. So that is what it says. Replace this int with a. So it is acceptable. So that is, you are pre-defining the data type int is replaced with a. So pre-defined, right? So pre-processor, you should clearly intimate to rename the int with a. Right? So required by languages in C or can be later add-ons that provide additional facilities like this: preprocessor directives, preprocessor macros, macro substitutions. See, all those things is a part of a preprocessor. Editors. So compiler have been bundled together with an editor and the other program into an interactive development environment. We call it as an editor. So we call it as our interactive development environment, IDE. So that is, every compiler will have an editor. So if we have a black screen like this, right? So this type of a screen where we can able to compile our program, where we can able to run our program. See, all those. So we call such place where we can able to write the code, where we can able to execute the code, where we can able to run the code. So we call such an environment as an editor. So every compiler will bundled with or tied with an editor inbuilt and other programs through your interactive development environment. Right? So it works like a separate application for your program. So oriented towards the format or structure of a programming language called structure based. So as we all know that. So depending upon the structure of a programming language, we define the compiler. So it may include some operations of a compiler informing some errors. Obviously, every programming language will encounter some sort of errors. So that will be maintained. So obviously debugging. So if any errors occurs while compiling a program, it will be easily solved with the help of debuggers if we rectify it. So keep tracks of most or all sources of code information. Halt execution at pre-specified location called breakpoints. So if any abnormal condition, that is looping phase, so it goes to continuous execution. So if want to halt your execution, then we go for breakpoints. It must be supplied with appropriate symbolic information by the compiler. Right. So as I said, compiler is a language translator which converts source language to target language. So what is this translation process? This is the picture. So there are 6 phases of a compiler: like scanner, parser, semantic analyzer, source code optimizer, code generator, and code optimizer. Right? So these are 6 phases of compiler. We also call lexical scanner as a, or lexical analyzer as a scanner. We also call syntax analyzer as a parser. We also call semantic analyzer. We also call intermediate code generator or intermediate code optimizer, code generator, and code optimizer. These are 6 phases. And we have 3 auxiliary components. So that is literal table, symbol table, error handler. See, all those things will be connected with this phases of a compiler. All 3. Literal table is connected with scanner, parser, semantic analyzer, intermediate code generator, and code optimizer. And symbol table is also connected with scanner, parser, semantic analyzer, intermediate code generator, and optimizer. And even error handler will also connected to all this phase of compiler. See, all these phases is connected to symbol table, literal table, and error handler. Right. The first phase we call it as scanner, or we also call it as lexical analyzer. Second phase is parser. We also call it as syntax analyzer. Third one is semantic analyzer. We also call code optimizer as intermediate code generator. The fifth phase is code generator, and sixth phase is code optimizer. See, the input of your scanner is source code. That is your programming language, either C, C++, whatever. See, the outcome of scanner is tokens. The parser phase outcome is syntax tree, and the input for your parser is tokens. The outcome of your semantic analyzer is annotated tree, and the input for your semantic analyzer is syntax tree. Right? So the input for your intermediate code generator is annotated parse tree, and the outcome of your intermediate code optimizer is intermediate code. So the input for your code generator is intermediate code, and the output is your target code. And the output for your code optimizer is optimized target code. All the stuff is connected with your symbol table. See, lexical analyzer. See, lexical analyzer connects sequence of characters in a meaningful units called tokens. Right. For example, this is a executable statement in our programming language called C, right? A of index equal to 4 plus 2, right? Or else we can, I'll say that like this. A of index is equal to 50. 50. So here A is an identifier. In programming language, we call it as A is a variable. So this open and close brace is nothing but left and right brackets. Index is also an variable or an identifier. Just we'll write like this, right? A of I, where I for loop, if we keep this in for loop, I equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Is it right? So I iterates, right? I iterate. So I here is a variable. And equal to is an assignment. And if I give value, so value is nothing but just it is a number. Right? So now how many tokens are there? So this is your token 1, this is your token 2, token 3, token 4, 5, 6, semicolon is 7. So total number of tokens for this particular statement is 7. So likewise, your compiler divides the each and every executable statements into tokens. Executable statements into tokens. Right. So parser. Syntax, it determines the structure of a program. The result of a syntax analyzer are parse tree or a syntax tree. See how it will be? A of what will be here? Index. What will be the value? 50. So it represents in terms of tree structure. See here, expression, assignment expression, expression equal to expression. That is expression, assigning expression equal to, and here we gave only value of 50, right? See here, expression, subscript expression, like this. Expression is nothing but A, subscript, this expression is nothing but index, right? Close brace. So A, and this is your identifier which gives about your index. See, index. So which means that A of index, A of index, index is equal to 4 plus 2. See, all your leaf nodes of a tree which surely says about your expression. Right? Your leaf nodes should say about your expression. So I directly wrote it here like this. So subscript which will have a value of A, that will be assigned with equal to then your value. Right? See here, expression will be represented in terms of tree like this. Fine. Each and every token we call it as terminal. Each and every token we call it as terminal in syntax analyzer phase or in parse tree. Right? Each and every terminal, each and every token should be available at your leaf nodes, and we call it as terminals. All leaf nodes in tree we call it as terminals. So syntax tree. So the syntax tree, which is a precise version of your parse tree. See, total assignment expression equal to subscript including that identifier and index, just like this. And here we have only value, that is 50. So which means that precise form equal to A of 50, like this. And coming towards your semantic analyzer, the semantic of a program, its meaning as opposite to its syntax or structure, that is, it determines of its running time behavior prior to the execution. See, all error checking will be happened at syntax analyzer phase itself. That is, declaration type of errors, type checking, all the stuff will be done at the semantic analyzer phase. So the attributes should be extra piece of information computed by a semantic analyzer. See, if you want to derive annotated parse tree for this attributes, then it will be like this. So everything will be clearly mentioned. That is assignment operator. So if I go like this, so what will be the type of A, and what will be the type of subscript, and what will be the value, whether it belongs to integer, floating point, what type. See here, assigning expression, subscript expression. This one is your A, this one is your index. So A should be array of integer type. Index should also be integer type, and the additive expression of integer, that is the assignment value, will be 4, 2. So these two should be a type of integers. So code optimizer. So we need to optimize the code. So we are having different type of code optimization techniques. So but the earliest point of most optimization step is just for semantic analysis. So where we can able to reduce the lines of code. The code improvements depends only on the source code and as a separate phase. So we have different type of individual compiler exhibits different variations of optimization. So we have different types, right? So constant folding, we have 3 address code, we have quadruples, we have triples, we have indirect triples. See, all those things are a type of intermediate code generation with its optimization. See, again, the same type expression. So how much we can able to optimize the code, that much we can able to reduce the time of execution as well as the space. See here. So if we kept like this, so instead of writing 4 plus 2, directly we can write like this, right? So A of index is equal to 6, right? So it we call it as constant folding. See here. So instead of doing that in an annotated parse tree, all these things are same. So here your expression A of, so here instead of 4 plus 2, they can directly write 6. So what is the meaning, final meaning? A of index is equal to 6. So tree representation will be this. See, all your tokens should be at your leaf nodes. So coming towards the intermediate code generator. So intermediate code generator which generates 3 address code. So what are the statement it may be? So it will be splitted into 3 addresses only. See here, 3 addresses only. A of index is T, sorry, A of index is nothing but a value where this T is, see, you have 3 addresses, T, 4, 2. So we should store the value of 4 plus 2 constants in T. So how many operations? 1, 2 operations. So how many addresses? So we took one variable to store 4, we took one variable to store 2, and we took one more variable to add these two and stored in T. So that's why we call it as 3 address code. See here, and now the value of T is 6. T is 6. A of index is equal to T. Now A of index equal to 6. So this representation we call it as intermediate code. So we have different types. We have this is called 3 address code. We have quadruples, that is we can able to use 4 address, quadruples, triples, so we can use 3 address, indirect triples. So we can indirectly use by using by using memory, we use again some different type of 3 addresses. So and final one is code generator. So it takes intermediate code for code or instruction registers and generate a target machine code. So the intermediate code which takes or which generates different types of intermediate representations. It takes different type of intermediate representations and generates a target code. So the property of target machine becomes the major factor, that is we can able to use different type of instruction, machine use instructions and representation of data. So instead of using this plus symbol, better we go use instruction called add. So likewise, so we have code sequencing in a hypothetical assembly language. So instructions should be represented in terms of literal. So this type of language is assembly level language. Add, sub. For storing, we have command called str, right? So for loading it into memory, we have a command called load. For division, we have div. For multiplication, mul, right? For jump, we have jump, right? So likewise, we have different type of instructions available in an assembly language program. Here we call it as a code sequence. See here, A of index equal to 6. First, what will be the index? For example, 5. So 5 should be moved into R0. Next, multiplication of R0 comma 2. Right? So what will be the value of R0? R0. So index value is 5. So 5 to is 10. Right? So move R1 at the address of A. So what will be available in your address of A, which is nothing but memory of A. So will be assigned to R1. Right? Now add the content of R1 to R0. Add the content of R1 to R0. So the resultant will be stored in R1. Next, move 6 to this memory allocation. Move 6 to the memory allocation R1. So here we call it as indirect memory addressing. Indirect memory addressing. See, this is a type of an array, continuous array, right? So first we should move the index to R0. Next, so as this integer, what will be the size of this? If it is, the size is 5, so we should integer type occupies 2 bytes, 5 2s are 10. So that's why R0 is divided with 2, sorry, multiplied with 2. So what will be the thing? So size of index multiplied with 2. Right, next, move R1 to address of A. What will be the address of A? So any memory location address of which is free, that will be assigned to R1. Now the content of R1 is added with R0. And finally the R1 is a type of a memory and you should store the data in R1. And last phase of compile is code optimizer. So your code optimizer improves your target code by code generator. So we have different type of addressing modes, instruction replacement, redundant elimination. All those things will be done at the stage of code optimizer. right? So we go here also we can learn constant folding, and here also we can go for dead code elimination. We have go for code redundant code elimination. We go for loop invariant methods. We have different type of code optimization techniques available. See here we have 1 2 3 4 5 lines of code. Here only 3 lines of code. So that's why we use code optimizer for optimizing your code. Right. So, major data structures, what we discussed with a compiler is, so as you know that scanner collects characters into tokens as a value of enumerated data types for your token. So all your enumerated data types comes under your token. It may also preserve the strings of characters and other observed informations. So we call it as an identifier value of a token number. Right. So if we derive like this, so int if we design like int a, so compiler will treat this a as a identifier. So next comma b. So this one is your identifier one, and b will be your identifier, right? So it can collect the characters of tokens as a value of an enumerated data type, which means that the first variable will be your first identifier, second variable will be second identifier. If I use C, then your next identifier is 3. So this one becomes an enumerated type, that is continuous type of tokens. So it may also reserve different type of information such as identifiers, numbers and all, and a single global variable or an array of a tokens. It may be program depends, it may be a single global variable or array of tokens, right? A syntax tree, as we know that it is completely based on pointer structure, right? Pointer based structure, right? Each node represents information to collect by a parser, so which may dynamically allocated or stored in a symbol table. So the node requires different attributes depending on the kind of a language structure, which may be represented on different types of records. And I already said, so here see all the phases of compiler is directly related with or directly having a relation with literal table, symbol table and L handler. So symbol table is also a type of a data structure where it can store each and every individual point about your program in its data structure. So it keeps information associated with the identifiers, functions, variables, constants and data types. So what not? See, what you kept in your program will be stored inside your symbol table. Right? So it interacts with almost every phase of a compiler. So accessing operation needs to be a constant time and it will be updated at your symbol table. Here we can have one or several hash tables are often used for your functions and all. And coming towards your literal table, it stores constants and string, so which helps us to reduce the size of your program. So we can able to do quick insertions and lookups for this literal table. And we have intermediate code phase where we can able to keep an array of string, a temporary text, linked data structures. So in different type of intermediate code. See, I already said we have 3 address code, we have P code, which is nothing quadruple, triple, indirect triple. So we call here as P code. So it is very easy for recognition and organization. So we have different types of temporary files. So it holds product of intermediate step during your compilation. So solving the problem of memory constraint or backpatching addressed during this code generation. That is, so if we want to retrieve already existing code, so we can dig the memory by using this type of temporary files. Right. So remaining issues about your compiler is, so multiple views from different angles. So we have logical structure, physical structure, sequence of operations, and the major impact of the structure is reliable, efficiency, usefulness, and maintainability. So your phase of compiler is divided into 2 types. We call it as analysis phase and synthesis phase, or we can call it as front end or back end of the program. First 3 phases are analysis part, and next 3 phases is synthesis part. So first we also call the first 3 phases as front end of your compiler, and next three phases the back end of a compiler. The analysis part of the compiler analyze the source program to compute its properties, just like syntax, lexical syntax and semantics, as well as a part of your optimization. More mathematically and better understanding, first three phases is the analysis phase, and next code generation and code optimization, a part of your intermediate code comes under your synthesis part of your compiler. We also call it as backend of your compiler. The two parts can be changed independently of its others. See, I already represented. So we call the front end of a compiler depends on source language, scanner, parser, semantic analyzer, front end, right? Intermediate code generator, code optimizer, backend. So this intermediate code generator is a mediator between front end and backend. That is analysis phase and synthesis phase. So someone will keep intermediate code generator as a part of analysis. Someone will keep intermediate code as a part of a synthesis phase, whatever. But intermediate code generator is a mediator block. So the intermediate representation is the medium of communication between those two. So the structure is very important for compiler portability. Right. So this is a very, very important concept in your compiler, because see, as what I said now to is general basics about the compiler, but so where the main thing about your compiler is passes. See, the repetition to process the entire source program before generating code as referred as a pass. So that is, in C, if we press Alt F9, your program will be compiled, right? Program will be compiled. Or whenever you compile a Java program by saying Java C, so your Java program will be compiled. So the repetition to process your entire program before generating the code are referred as passes. So before pressing your Alt F9, just saving your task, so ready for compilation, we call it as passes. The passes may or may not correspond to the phase. Actually, it is not a part of your phases. A pass often consists of different phases. So a compiler can be one pass or multi-pass, which results in efficient compilation but less efficient target code. That is, so whenever we compile a particular program, obviously we will get the source code, right? See, but the program which is supposed to execute, it may or may not part of your phase. So if we supposed to execute that, so which we call it as one pass. That is, if we compiled it, one pass is over. So we have one pass compiler, we have two pass compiler. So likewise, most compiler with optimization uses more than one pass. See, which compiler with optimization is more than one pass. See, it is not possible for us to say a particular program is efficient unless we use more than one pass. See, a C programming language is a two-pass compiler, right? So we need to execute your program based on two passes. So one pass is for scanning and parsing, and one pass for semantic and source level optimization. And some programming language will have three pass for code generation and target level optimization, right? So, but depending upon the compiler, we can prefer that, or compiler itself says that myself is single pass, two pass, or three pass compilers. See, language definition of a compiler. So a lexical and syntactic structure of a programming language completely depends on regular expression and context-free grammar. See, C equal to A plus B. It is a statement. It is a statement. See, the addition of these two numbers will be performed and the result is stored in C, right? So we call, compiler will understand this as a grammar. So this type of grammar is called context-free grammar. This type of grammar is called context-free grammar. In second statement, we can write like this. C equal to B plus D. We can also write like this, right? So we call this type of grammars as context-free grammar, and representing in a different way is nothing but your regular expression. The semantic of a programming language, the semantic of a programming language in English description will be a general language reference or general language definition. So, a language definition of a compiler often developed simultaneously. So, the technique have a major impact on definitions, or the definition has a major impact on technique. See here, the main theme of your language definition is, so here we need to depend on the technique, that what we are supposed to define it, right? So the language to be implemented is well known as existing definition. So this is not an easy task to implement a language with existing one. We need to do some sort of upgradations for existing language, or we need to derive the new programming language. See, so language occasionally has its semantics given by formal definition in mathematical term, so-called denotational semantic in function programming community. So we have mathematical proof that a compiler conforms to do some sort of definitions. See, in any semantic oriented formal definition, right? So everything should be in a terms of proof, hypothesis and proof. We need to prove each and every statement what we are learning. The structure and behavior of a runtime environment affect the compiler construction. So we have different type of static environment, semi-dynamic environment, fully dynamic environment. So the semi-dynamic environment are stack based. So all programming languages like C, C++, so all those things comes under your semi-dynamic environment. And fully dynamic environment is object oriented, just like Java, Python, and all uses heap based environment. So here compiler options depends upon the mechanic of interfacing with operating system. So input and output facilities of a compiler, whether he can able to create a file, or he can able to remove the file, or he can able to access the file, likewise. See, and we have different options for the users, that is specification of characters, listing, code optimization techniques, all those things will be a part of your compiler. So, and very important thing which we already learned here is, see, last one is error handle. We already learned about literal table, symbol table. See, all the information about your program is stored in symbol table. Each and every literal should be a part of your literal table. Next, every phase, if it generates any error, it should be a part of your error handler. So error handler will list all the errors generated at each and every phase. So if the error is rectifiable, then defaultly compiler will throw an error to rectify it. So then nothing will be happen. So static errors must be reported by your compiler. Obviously, whenever we press Alt F9 or Java C file name, so an errors will be encountered if it is there in our program. So which is nothing but generate meaningful errors and resume the compilation after each error. So we should recover the errors at each and every step. Each phase of a compiler need different kind of error handlings. Yeah, we have different type of error handlings. So next one, so this can be easily recoverable. So these errors can be easily rectifiable. So exception handling. Exception is nothing but an abnormal type of an error which takes a time to reduce. So generate extra code to perform suitable runtime test to generate all such errors to cause appropriate event during your execution. So we can able to generate different type of codes to perform different type of runtime. So for example, we know that a by 0 is a type of an arithmetic error. That is anything divided by 0 equal to infinity, right? So if the value, is it possible to store a variable to store infinite value? No, right? So when here we call it as an exception. So this is a type of extra code to perform suitable runtime test to generate different types test to guarantee so different type of errors to an appropriate event during this execution. And very important concept is bootstrapping. What is meant by bootstrapping? So before going to know about bootstrapping, what is meant by machine language? Compiler generated language is machine language. Compiler to execute immediately. So compiler generates a machine language. Another language which existed compiler on same target machine. So the first scenario is compiler, the new compiler with existing compiler. We call it as a type of another existing compiler. And we have different type of existed compilers. So that is compilation procedure or a cross compiler. So here we need to remind about this word called cross compiler. So we have two compilers. So which can able to work with the third compiler is called cross compiler. See here, a compiler return in language H that translate the language S into language T. Then we call it as a cross compiler. So see, a compiler return in language H. So that translate languages S into T. It is a type of a compiler, not cross compiler. It is a type of compiler. So this T diagram can be combined into two basic ways. So that will lead to the cross compiler. See here, that is H is a programming language. See here, a compiler written in language H. Right? A compiler is written in language H. So here, H is a compiler designed in any particular language. So that this H translate language S into T. That translate source language into target language. Right? Right. I'll give you an example. So this is a C compiler which compiles C code to generate machine code. So we have one more compiler called C, which compiles a program called B and generates target code as C. So instead of that, so we can remove this and we can club these two compilers. That is, C is a compiler which converts source code, source language called A into the target language code. This and removing this intermediate target code and finally generates the final target code. So here two compilers run on the same machine H. Two compilers run on the same machine H. First from A to B. So C is a compiler which runs on the machine. So source language, this your target code. Source for suppose source language is C programming language. H is C compiler for suppose. So we need to generate a object code for this C. And we have one more compiler, same C compiler, which runs B program to get target C. Instead of this B, better to combine this, right? So here from B to C. So final result, A to C on H. So again, one more type of T diagram. See, H is a programming compiler, or as H is a compiler, M is a compiler. Very nice. Now, this compiler leads A to convert B is also very good. See, but what the thing happen is, so C is also a compiler which convert the source program to K. But what it happens, so this two will become clubbed, right? So here finally what the thing is, so M which converts source language H into K. Right? So better to translate this K in terms of A and B. So translates an implementation of a language of a compiler from H to K. First, here we need to translate from H to K and use another compiler from H to K, and it becomes like this. Now, the translating language will be your source compiler will be K, which converts the source code A into source code B. See here, one more scenario. A, B is a compiler which converts A to H. So here these two phases are common, right? So obviously what it will do, H is a compiler which converts this in terms of this, better to remove this common thing, and it will form a thing like, so H is a compiler which converts A to H. Translate a compiler from A to H, return in B actually. But here using existing compiler for a language B, here is H. So that's why instead of B we prefer H. So there's also like this. So finally, clubbing this type of two compilers and generate a third compiler, we call it as a cross compiler, right? So getting or passing more than one compiler to get an unique compiler, we call it as a cross compiler. Using an existing compiler of a language B on a machine K, we need to derive this compiler. Right. So what is meant by bootstrapping? Process of bootstrapping. So writing a compiler in the same language and generating a target language is called bootstrapping. No compiler for source language yet. So for example, we have C compiler. We are writing the program in C, and we are getting the target as .exe. So we are writing a Java program at Java compiler. So we source code is Java itself, and target is .class file. Right? So likewise, so no compiler for source language yet, but we have Java, C, all those stuff are available. So porting to new host machine. So we can able to move a compiler from one machine to another machine. See here, bootstrapping, quick and dirty compiler written in machine language H. So compiler written in its own language of A, right? So result in running but inefficient with this compiler. So finally we'll get like this, right? A, so your compiler is H, so your source code is A, and you get H. So second, A, H, right? So what we prefer, so instead of we prefer H, the source language is H, and the compiler is H, the source language is, and the should be so running, but it's an inefficient compiler. So compiler written this version of a compiler, source language is A, your target language is H, and the compiler is H. So comes your porting. Porting is also nothing. We can able to inscribe that. So original compiler is this. So better to club this, right? And source language is A, target is K, and the compiler is H. So we call such sort as cross compiler. See here one more. So we'll club this and K. So here we can do like this. So instead of H, compiler, A is a source code. We need to get target code K. So, but here the compiler itself is A. So better to use here like this. So A is a source code, K is your target code, and here K is your compiler. So your cross compiler source code recreated for K, and result turn is retargeted compiler. So see here, this one is your target code. Now it becomes both your compiler as well as your target code, CK. So we call it as retargeted compiler. So this is up to phases of compiler and pass bootstrapping about your compiler. So in tomorrow's class, we are going to learn about what is meant by syntax analyzer. See what is meant by parsing, what are left recursive parsing, like recursive parsing, what is meant by ambiguous grammar. See all the stuff that we are going to learn on tomorrow's class. Thank you.